Hello, music fans. So it's that time of year where Spotify gives us our Spotify Wrapped, and I figured I'd go over what cool stats they told me and make a video on it. So first up, they told me that I listened for 50,234 minutes this year, and that puts me in the top 5% of listeners worldwide. That's kind of cool. It's funny how they put it in minutes. I always think in hours, so it's hard to think about. So that's 837 hours of listening to Spotify, or at least 2 hours a day, basically. And that sounds about right. I listen to it while I work pretty often. Let's jump to the next cool stat that they shared, which was my biggest listening day was October 25th with 346 minutes. Now, what's that in hours? 346 minutes is almost 6 hours on October 25th. I'm not sure what that day was. I wonder if I was driving, doing a long drive that day. I'm not sure, but I believe them. Right. So, next cool stat was I played 6,226 songs this year. So, that's a lot of songs. That sounds about right. And my top song was Reconciliation by Almo. That's an excellent song. It's a long, epic. It's the epic track on this album. I think it's about 20 minutes long. And this is a great album, a debut album by a prog metal project. I think it's a one-man project, and it's just an amazing epic. So that's pretty cool that it was my most listened to song. I was in the top 0.05% of listeners to it globally. And apparently I streamed it 23 times starting on March 15. What day did this album come out? I don't remember. I think that's the day it came out, March 15th. So I first listened to it the day it came out. And yeah, I listened to it 23 times. And that's pretty wild for a 20-minute epic. Yeah, what can I say? I love it. Everyone should check out that song. Now, here's my top five songs. Reconciliation by Elmo, great epic. And actually, I noticed a lot of these are long, epic prog metal, prog rock tracks. Um, the first four for sure are all over 12 minutes. Mute's the shortest there. It's only 12 minutes, but the other ones are all over like 13 minutes. Binary Dream by Turbulence is another amazing epic. Mute by Caligula's Horse is probably my favorite track of the year. I bet you it's my most listened to song because I also have Caligula's Horse album on vinyl, so I would have listened to it there. And I also have Caligula's Horse album downloaded on my iPod and everything. So probably Mute is my most listened to track overall, but on Spotify, my most listened to track is Reconciliation. Uh, Toad Hirer is a great epic as well by Toe Hider. It was on a one-track EP that Toe Hider put out this year. And then the last one here, Dragonflies by Dream Piece. Dream Piece is kind of sleep and relaxation and meditation music made by Devin Townsend, kind of relaxation ambient music. It's his pseudonym for the music that he puts out in that style. And I probably listen to it many times just to get to sleep myself. And then I have a toddler, 2-year old. So, uh, if he's ever struggling to sleep, maybe just put on some relaxing music and that can sometimes help. So that's probably why that's in my top five. And I listened to 840 artists this year. That sounds about right. That's a lot, but one had a special place in my heart. So apparently the Beatles was my top artist of the year. That was a bit surprising to me, but also not. I listened to the Beatles a lot on drives with my son in the car. I can listen to intense prog metal and prog rock around him on long drives as well, but sometimes I feel like just putting on something that I think is more accessible that would probably resonate with a 2-year-old a bit more, that he might be able to remember and understand some of the lyrics and melodies more. So the Beatles has been a great artist for that. And apparently, I'm a top 2% fan of the Beatles, and we've spent 565 minutes together. And again, I got to do some math on my other screen here. How many hours is that? That would be just over 9.5 hours this year of Beatles listening. So, I mean, it's not that long considering they're my number one most listened to artist. I bet you my next few artists are very close. Like they probably are only just barely in the top spot because I know there's lots of other artists that I've listened to for at least 9 hours this year too. So my top five artists are the Beatles, Dirt Poor Robins, Matter Mortem, Rick Wakeman, and Savatage. This is interesting because if you look at like my top 25 albums of the year, I don't think any albums by any of these artists will have made it. Like the Beatles and Rick Wakeman and Savatage didn't even put out anything this year. Dirt Poor Robins and Matter Mortem, they both put out amazing albums this year that I really like and would definitely place in my top 100 and probably even my top 50, but I think they're just short of my top 25 of the year. But the reason these artists are in my top five is for Dirt Poor Robins, Matter Mortem, and Savatage. This year I listened to their entire discographies because I hadn't heard them all before. Um, until this year, I'd never heard an album by Matter Mortem or Savatage in full. And I used this year to fix that. I binged their entire discographies. They are great, great bands. Matter Mortem's like a progressive metal band with female vocalist. Savatage is a band from the 80s, kind of classic heavy metal, but they get pretty proggy and have like classical influence. And some of their members went on to do Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And I felt like I should just take the plunge and listen to them. So that's why they're in there. Rick Wakeman, I started going through his discography, but I never finished. He has a very large discography. I was thinking I would binge through it all, but I didn't quite hear everything by him yet. He's the amazing keyboard player from Yes. I'll probably keep listening to him and finish off his discography eventually. And his discography is a little bit hit or miss. He has some that are amazing, some that are not so amazing, and then some in the middle. Dirt Poor Robins, I heard their album Firebird from this year, which is a really, really great one. And I liked their last album before that. Like I heard that I've heard an album from them before this year, but I hadn't gone back and listened to everything. So this year I decided I'm going to listen to every single thing they've done, and it's great. So that's kind of why these artists are my top five, even though only two of them have put out albums this year. I think Rick Wakeman might have put out a live album, but I don't count that. Only two put out studio albums. So that's my Spotify Wrapped. I'm curious to hear what others share your Spotify Wrapped in the comments. I'm curious to hear what other people have been listening to. And what do you think of these artists? Do you enjoy the Beatles, Dirt Poor Robins, Matter Mortem, Rick Wakeman, Savatage? Do you like the tracks that are in my top five most listened to tracks? Let me know what you think down in the comments and stay tuned for more year-end content. I'm going to make some lists like my favorite albums in each genres and my big epic top albums of the year video, of course. So stay tuned for that. If you like metal, rock, and prog music, you're in the right place. Peace out.